Miraculous Ladybug just had a feature-length film drop on Netflix after a limited run in movie theaters, and with it taking place in its own separate world or timeline from the show, I wanted to talk about the differences from the show and what new ideas the story leaned into that makes the feature-length format work for itself. Now, I got into Miraculous Ladybug only a few weeks ago and have binged all 5 seasons before watching the movie without even seeing its trailer, so I was a bit surprised when I saw that the movie was actually wildly different in terms of style, tone, writing, and also being in its own universe. The show is premised with the villain Hawkmoth trying to capture the magical miraculous of the Ladybug and Cat Noir because together they can grant him any wish. Marionette and Adrien protect the miraculous, as to make a wish with them would either destroy the world and create a new one, or just come with some other terrible consequence depending on the wish. To try and lure out the Ladybug and Cat Miraculous, Hawkmoth uses his powers to turn humans with strong emotions into monsters. Ladybug is the only one who can stop this with her various powers. The movie is set in its own universe, as I said, separate from the TV show, and focuses on the origins of the characters and elaborating on their love dynamic while also racing towards a logical conclusion to give the film a sense of finality, though they do set up a potential sequel with a post-credit sequence. The movie has a bigger budget than the show does on average, with entirely new models and assets and a lot more of a focus on cinematography. This leads to very beautiful and dramatic looking scenes, something helped along by the movie also being a musical. This is physically a huge departure from what the series is, but the movie was largely developed by the creator of Miraculous Ladybug, Jeremy Zag, who even wrote the music for this movie. Now from here, we will be getting into much bigger spoiler territory, so turn back now if you want to see the movie but you haven't yet. Now, the sets and lighting and romance were quite lovely, but most of the reason these things work is because of just how deep the characters' relationship is within the actual TV series. The show is built around a very simple formula, but after establishing that formula with very simple examples in Season 1, the show transitions into being about how changes to the formula cause bigger and bigger complications. This can be a villain trying to change things in order to win, or a hero trying to change things in their personal life in order to get their desire, but in both cases, the balance of things is ruined, and the only way to fix it, or even to save the world, is to go back to the way things were before. The tragedy of this is that the status quo involves Marionette being in love with her classmate Adrien, but Adrien is in love with her Ladybug persona, neither knowing each other's secret identities. Well, we have seen in episodes that they would actually be very happy together if they were to know each other's identities and start dating. This always has bad consequences because knowing each other's identities ends up threatening their mission, such as Adrien's father Gabriel also learning their identities. Episodes often either focus on one of the characters making some sort of move on the person they love, or someone else coming in to steal them. In the end, the dynamic tends to stay where it originally started, with both parties appreciating each other's dual identities more because of how important that balance is to the battle against Hawkmoth and their own emotional health. To keep things fresh, some changes really do happen for the long term, even if they are not permanent. A recurring theme in the show is large changes that happen at the end of one season being taken away at the end of the next. Consequences of consequences circling back to bring things to the way they were before, but in a new form that allows us to explore the consequences of the previous change. In Season 2, new superheroes are increasingly introduced, for instance, as are the Kwami who give the kids their power. By the end of Season 4, these are stolen by Hawkmoth, and thus Season 5 has Ladybug and Cat Noir going back to basics as two heroes without allies. But these other Kwami had become an important part of how they dealt with Hawkmoth, and worse, Hawkmoth was now in control of those Kwami and their powers, making things the way they were before, but somehow also worse. The show is deep into Season 5 now, where the dynamic of Adrien and Marionette's love has been flipped. Season 4 ended with all the Kwamis being stolen because Marionette focused too much on Adrien, and as such she begins to worry her feelings for him are only destructive. Instead, she begins to project her feelings onto Cat Noir, who is the more stable choice in her life, but he is suddenly unavailable because he is beginning to understand Marionette's feelings for him and return them, especially with the help of Kagami. Eventually, Marionette gives into her initial feelings for Adrien, and the two are dating as civilians while not knowing each other's secret identities, and it's been absolutely amazing to explore that dynamic in Season 5. As with most changes, I think this will reverse itself at the end of the season, as I think we're just building to a big breakup between them that will really harsh the buzz of Season 6 and leave a lot of new interesting nuance to explore in their relationship, as Marionette still loves Adrien but has to be separated from him, probably because of Gabriel. This structure has allowed for over 4 seasons of really amazing development on these characters that always involve them returning to their status quo for the sake of their dynamic, which is important to the balance of their life. But in a 2-hour movie, you don't really have the same use of that structure. That 22-minute plot stretched out to a full 2 hours wouldn't be very climactic, and the fun of the series, as I've said, is that it subverts the structure each episode by threatening to change it. The movie, of course, could play upon that by doing commentary on its own tropes in the form of a movie, but the TV show already does that so brilliantly with each episode, particularly ones like Season 4's Simple Man, which, instead of expanding upon them to a feature-length setting, focused on distilling them down to the most simplest parts to explain what makes the structure so fun, not just to explore, but to exploit. The episode itself becomes the most fun example of how the structure is what makes the series so great. Without that, the movie is largely just about the dynamic of Marionette and Adrien, but on a fast-forward path so that the movie itself has a full conclusion. Interestingly, the movie even goes beyond what the show has done, not just by having Marionette and Adrien learn each other's secret identities by the end of the movie, but by having Gabriel and Adrien learn each other's identities in the big climactic battle. This made the film feel very conclusive, though a post-credit scene set up that there will be a story for a sequel if one is greenlit. Despite Gabriel's reveal of his identity to Adrien and them seemingly making up, he indicates that he still has plans to get those Miraculous and bring back Adrien's mother. The movie throws away the idea of the structure's usefulness, and the akumatized villains really just become a background piece to let Marionette and Adrien explore their relationship, and the movie does do very well with that. The cinematic look to the movie allows for such beautiful moments between these characters who we already are so used to seeing just be in love in some way or another. While we have little moments like this here and there in the show, they always feel like they are very far apart, and it was really beautiful to see their relationship just play out in front of such beautiful set pieces with such pretty animation. The ending especially was really well done, with Marionette revealing herself to Cat Noir, and I hope that in the series proper finale we will get a beautiful moment like this, or the one Adrien had with his father revealing their identities. They could pretty much copy-paste a lot of the ending, and I'd be very happy with that, as we already know that Adrien and Marionette can have a happy ending from all the time travel episodes. It's really just about how we get there. But what the movie lacks is just how fun it is to explore how we get there, the angst these characters have when they can't be together. The movie is a race to that beautiful ending with beautiful moments along the way, but the show is what allows us to stop and appreciate why those sweet moments are so impactful. At the end of the day, the true ending of the show doesn't matter, because the show is really just about how long we can stretch this out and explore the psychology of these two characters and the strange situation that they are trapped in. But the movie does a beautiful job of showing the relationship in a more direct and romantic light. Watching the movie really almost felt like watching a stage musical of the show, an adaptation as opposed to a replacement. And it works beautifully in that regard, even if what I truly love about the show is that crazy formula and the way that the writers play with it. But what do you guys think? Let me know what your thoughts on the movie were, as well as what I should talk about next for Miraculous Ladybug in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.